Hey, Little Lolo coming back down to earth here, and Twomad was a very controversial and successful content creator who unfortunately passed earlier this month on February 13th of an apparent overdose. Now, for those of you guys who do not know who Twomad is, don't worry, I will provide you on some information and details on who he was, because if I'm going to be honest, I too was unfamiliar with who Twomad was. The only thing I've seen him from was a clip of him and Belle Delphine dancing and the Goodnight Meme Girl that went viral years ago. So I came into this situation with a blank slate and an open mind. All I knew initially was that there was a content creator who died of an overdose, and as a person who suffered from addiction as well, I wanted to seek out who he was, what type of content did he make, and were there signs of a spiraling deterioration into the depths of addiction that he left behind. So I started to dig, and what I found, ladies and gentlemen, was much worse. But before I get into that, who was Twomad? And what legacy did he leave behind? So Twomad was a YouTuber, started his career in 2016 where he uploaded gaming, ADHD, brain edited content on his Twomad 360 channel that really took off. He then would eventually create a second channel called Just Twomad that he would then make his main account, where he would post his Overwatch highlights that would typically involve loud explosive sound effects and raising the noise gate over 9,000. Twomad in 2019 would then do a face reveal, and unlike Dream, actually received positive reception from it, where his numbers skyrocketed into the heavens of success. He would then post content that certified him as a radiant ranked internet troll, doing Zoom calls with the shirt off, role-playing as a lamp at Subway, selling N-word passes. He did a photo shoot with Belle Delphine, and just being your modern day jester, if you will. And if I'm to be honest, I actually do enjoy his editing, or the editing that his editor does. It's random as fuck, and it really captivates the viewer's attention. As the years progress, supporters and fans of Twomad would start to see him slowly lose himself, and his grips with sanity start to become evident on his social media platforms, where his mental decline was in full effect. An example of this is he would go on these manic benders on Twitter for days straight, where he would spam concerning tweets. If you just scroll through his Twitter page right now, it's a literal scream for help. On February 8th alone, 5 days before his passing, he tweeted out a total of 97 times. A lot of those tweets were just random. Him wondering if he should read books on terminally ill patients, rape victim, a multitude of photos of guns, Pokemon throwing the blood sign, and the list just goes on. Now Twomad would unfortunately pass of an overdose 5 days later, and the reception from everybody is not what you would expect when somebody dies, because I don't think I've seen a celebration like this of somebody's passing since the Queen died. Just look at this long list of people just mocking Twomad's death. It's insane. It's like we as a collective unit, as human beings, should have at least a little more compassion and sympathy for the dead, or at least their families. It's just like jobs. We should give a 2-week notice before we go full throttle dumpster diving on somebody's death. They were treating Twomad like he was Hitler. But did these people have a reason to feel this way? What did Twomad do to incite this reaction? Well, internet dwellers, this is where things take a turn for the worst. Now, everything I say from here on out is all allegedly and are merely accusations. So Twomad would schizo post on Twitter quite frequently. This is actually something that he was known to do. Although some of the tweets that he made were inappropriate or controversial, it never really stepped over the boundaries of immorally wrong. It was more so just fucking weird. Now Twomad would go even further, posting a 16-year-old transgender girl who was stabbed to death and claimed her as his girlfriend. He would soon double down when people were calling him out on this Charles Manson behavior by saying that he thought that she was hot, which I feel personally, is something nobody should really meme about. You know, there is a thin veil or a line that I feel like nobody should cross, and role playing as Jared from Subway is one of them. It's just not funny, it's gross, and for Twomad to make jokes about that really highlights how the drugs and ketamine really affected his brain chemistry. For anybody to joke about that must have some really deep resentment for themselves and the world. And I'm not justifying what he did, but as a former drug addict myself, it's like your perceptual reality really changes. You know, your emotions are intensified with real highs and lows. You know, whatever you're feeling is emphasized by 10. You're lost, you're scattered, and the codependency of drugs is a constant battle with your fucking sanity. You know, you try to fight it and be rational, but the addiction, it really kicks your ass like Fat Joe from Def Jam. These events would then trigger a Twitter user by the name of Goldie Bell, where she would then tweet out, "Twomad is psychotic. What he said about the trans girl is genuinely how he is IRL. He's even worse IRL. Most psychopathic person I've ever fucking known. If you're reading this, Medea, this isn't an excuse to try talking to me again. I'm completely serious about involving the police." Where she would then accuse Twomad of sexually assaulting and stalking her. She would post overwhelming evidence of their Discord messages, him spam texting her on multiple burner accounts, him signing an apparent contract that he wasn't going to make any sexual advances, and a video of him apologizing to her for committing these acts.
Okay, I at least want to take responsibility for what the fuck I did, you know. You know, like the way I treated you and like viewed you, this is not like okay. Like I pushed past your fucking boundaries.
Now, Twomad would obviously defend himself from these accusations, saying that he was innocent and that the video was a coerced confession where he was reading off a sticky note that somebody wrote for him so that he could apologize to Goldie Bell. But if anything, the only conclusion that this really shows is that something fucked up and inappropriate did happen between them, because if that wasn't the case, why would he be apologizing in the first place? He obviously had a guilty conscience about whatever took place between him and Goldie Bell for him to react in this manner. He would then tweet out multiple tweets, one of them being, "Yeah, I don't know. I understand worrying about the Twitter spam, but I think a lot of people just want to know for sure what happened. I can fulfill this, and I'm getting overwhelmed by the amount of Ricky-ass rumors that I'm not sure I'll ever fully redeem." So Twomad would then go live on Twitch and speak about the situation where he would call Goldie Bell a dumb bitch and that she was pretty much taking everything out of context. Now this VOD got deleted, but I managed to find some of the clips of him admitting that things did in fact happen and him downplaying sexual assault.
I chill, play a bit Overwatch, being chilling. Hey, just like Jared, what? Oh, I didn't actually do anything! Okay, well, I mean, I did some things. I don't like cancel culture anyways. So many fucking dudes that you guys trust on a day-to-day basis have done that same shit, if not worse. It's common!
Now, these clips could be taken out of context, so take this and the entire allegations with a grain of salt. But he would also admit to FPS Diesel that he did in fact do something to make Goldie Bell uncomfortable, but it just wasn't as severe as she was making it out to be. But what does that really entail? What is the measurement for this supposed severity? Now, if I was a judge, I would probably send this man to prison because of the amount of evidence that stacked up against him like Jenga, you know, because in some form or fashion, he would literally provide some form of confession that something did in fact happen between him and Goldie Bell.
I remember pretty clearly she was standing there, and I remember her just like kind of standing there, and I'm like, I come up like behind her, I'm like, it just occurs in my head, like, oh man, I want to touch her, you know, like I just had like a moment of like horny, it just snaps in my head, right?
But I am aware that there are layers that I just don't understand. I don't fully know the complexity of Twomad and Goldie Bell's relationship. I don't believe she provided any details except that he was groping her while she was crying, trying to leave his house, and that he pressured her into doing things that she never wanted to do. But we do have this article from Passion Fruit that was posted days after the accusation, going into detail about what happened between the alleged victim and Twomad, where the document claims that Twomad would pull his penis out and demanded that she give him oral sex, and when she refused, he allegedly placed himself between her and the door and began to get enraged. Once again, there are no public document on this. I've checked, and I'm not entirely sure of the credibility of this website and whether it's legitimate or not. Now, eventually, Goldie Bell would get a restraining order against Twomad. Now, this was a tipping point for Twomad, where he kind of spiraled into the role of the villain, where his tweets became a lot more out of pocket and concerning. Now, as we all know, Twomad would pass earlier this month, and unfortunately, all of his demons resurfaced into the public eye. Where his ex-friend and roommate would tweet out some very damaged and irreputable allegations about Twomad, calling him both a rapist and pedophile, and that he made attempts to murder him on multiple occasions, also saying that he preyed on young women, and that included a 13-year-old girl in a mental hospital. Now, these are some serious allegations. He would then tweet out again, stating that on multiple occasions Twomad would threaten his livelihood and that there was never a lawsuit, but that there were multiple cases, both civil and criminal, that were all public record. James would also say that the justice courts deemed it necessary to provide restraining orders to protect both the witnesses and the victims of Twomad, and that an arrest warrant was supposed to go just before his final overdose. Along with this tweet, he shared these photos as evidence. Now, I went on TrueFinder to reveal his court records, but that shit did not show me anything except that he was texting while driving in 2022. Other than that, I did not see any information of any fucking court records. He said it was public. I fucking looked at it. I spent $7 on these fucking public records, my friend. There's no evidence of that. But there is a YouTuber that goes by name Henry Resilient that I do believe got a hold of the records of the restraining order that Goldie Bell had over Twomad, and he pretty much goes into detail about it in his video. So if you want to check that out, I suggest you do so. Here is a small clip from it.
He reportedly contacted her through fake social media accounts. He also repeatedly harassed and taunted her using his public Twitter account.
But for all these other alleged public records, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know why he just didn't post the information from some of these records, especially if they were fucking public. I feel like that would make the most sense, you know, but he didn't do that. And once again, everything he says is pretty much all alleged. He would also post videos of Twomad with firearms and him holding a gun up to an alleged victim, and, you know, just retweeting anything that confirms his biases towards Twomad and the situation. Now, a friend of Twomad's, Jamie Pine, made attempts to debunk James's claims about him using firearms by showing evidence that Twomad's supposed firearms were just airsoft guns.
First the bullet, and then the fucking Glock, nigga. What the fuck? What? Yo, just spectating. I'm in.
Now, apparently, and this is where the real kicker comes in, Jameski despised Twomad. They apparently had a falling out years ago, as shown by user Adobe #1 Hater, that Twomad apparently called out Jameski for being a shitty person, where Jameski responded with him stating that he debunked every single claim with evidence. Now, I'm not too sure about that. I don't know about this past debacle that him and Twomad had, and I, don't know the layers to that. But that does showcase that there are more layers to unpack here, and that this rabbit hole goes deep. But I mean, there has been numerous evidence against Twomad harassing other women coming out after his passing, and the decline of his mental health became more evident with each woman coming out. This includes Justin Minks as well, who reveals her call history of her missing a plethora of phone calls from a no-caller ID that was alluding to Twomad, who was apparently stalking her at the time. Now, to end this off, I do feel Twomad had a detrimental addiction to drugs, and he plummeted into mental deterioration, where he suffered heavily in the last year of his life, as shown in this tweet by his editor, who experienced Twomad's gradual decline. It's saddening to see a person who had so much potential get put into the abyss that was just inescapable. Now, this does not excuse the things that Twomad did and allegedly did. Now, maybe more information and evidence would come out in the future, or maybe it won't. Regardless, to have your existence taken away from you, especially at an early age, I feel like should be given respect, or if not, shouldn't be talked about negatively for at least a month. At least, right? That's not too much to ask for. Now, I personally didn't really shit on Twomad in this video. I just went over a situation that I personally wanted to learn about and decided to make a video about it, especially for anybody else who was interested in it too. But yeah, RIP to Twomad and my condolences to his family. Anyways, that's all from me. I'm off to another dimension. See ya.